Okay, I wanted to talk a little bit about my favorite game, and its really odd, well-balanced gear system, Final Fantasy IX. Now, there is quite a lot going on with the gear system, and somehow it remains not overwhelming. It's absurd. So, you have a bunch of different party members, things to think about, which party members can equip what. Okay, that's cool, that's pretty standard. Certain types of armor, light or heavy, can only be equipped by certain party members that are, well, built for that. That's cool, I like that. Certain mages can only wear robes, very nice. That's not the interesting part that connects back to what this channel is mainly about, which is Valheim. The interesting part about this is what's after that. So, we have here basic stats. So I like how the stats are split up between the different pieces of armor. You have your evasion stats, magic evasion, magic defense, and regular defense, which is very cool. Get these pop-ups out of here. And that's kind of irrelevant in terms of Valheim. It's very actiony. You're just worried about physical defense, but also resistances and influences of damage types. So we have something very unique here about this bracelet. It raises wind elemental attack that you deal to the enemies. And that's something super interesting that I think Valheim could do, is that certain armor pieces as secondary benefits, in addition to just however many defense that they have, it could raise your potency of a certain element. I think that would be really cool. And you have something interesting to work with too, because you can modify it times 1.5, or also times 2. You know, the difference between weak and like a very weak. Kind of similar to how you have resistant and very resistant. Now, in Valheim, usually you just have weak, and they don't really stack. But if you had something like this with armor, they could stack. So let's say you have your frost mirror, and you're smacking a target that's wet, it's got the dripping effects, you're already dealing 1.5 times frost damage due to the already environmental factors of elemental damage. If you had, in addition to that, a gear that raised frost elemental attack, or just raised frost damage, then it would be 2 times frost. And I think that would be a really cool benefit to have. Of course, situations are still situations. There will only be certain times when enemies are going to be weak to certain elements or damage types. But, of course, you can just flesh this out by having a bunch of variety. And I think that even when you have regular armor, like heavy armor, you can have these sort of benefits as well, as heavy armor in Final Fantasy IX has all these benefits as well. Now, specifically, what's interesting is you have carapace armor, and that armor should be a little bit magical. It should have something going on to it because it's made with eider, refined eider, some sort of magical material, but it has no benefit on it. Now, previously I was all about secondary benefits in one specific regard, basic resistances. And I say basic resistances because I think that certain endgame armor, or benefits in some way, whether it's a set bonus or an armor piece bonus, should be able to have very resistance, that 0.75 times resistance. I think that would be really fitting for something fancy and magical, like carapace armor. I also think that once you really start getting these benefits stacked onto a lot of armor sets, and even maybe retroactively adding something to say like the bronze set, because right now bronze armor is not very good. Well, now we have room for what a lot of people are suggesting and would like, which is upgrading gear beyond their normal tier limit. So you advance several biomes in. Okay, now this bronze armor is just straight up outclassed. I don't like that. I love the aesthetic of bronze armor. I wish I could still use that, but it is just worse. Maybe if we had some sort of unique modifier to a crafting table, we would be able to spend the additional resources and upgrade them beyond their tier so that they can compete with the current tier of gear, and we can continue using the aesthetic options that we love and cherish and whatnot. And I think that's really cool. I like that. Everybody has their aesthetic preferences, and sometimes this goes far beyond any sort of mechanical choice, and you just wear that. I've seen people still wear troll gear well into Mistlands. It's kind of absurd to me, but people love the look of it. And I think that considering how powerful light armor is now, in light mixed sets, what you would have to do is give these little bonuses and boosts to heavy armor pieces, and maybe even heavy armor set bonuses. And then, boom, now we can have even light armor upgraded beyond their tier, sporting like a 76 armor root set in the Mistlands. Like, yeah, give that to me. I'm interested. Let's go. This is exciting, and it would bring a lot more meaningful decisions to think about in Valheim. The devs, they really want you to make meaningful decisions, as they said, their words. And that involves actually thinking beyond aesthetic choice and personal choice, and taking the game mechanics which they've worked so hard on into account. And should they add more benefits and make the choices more obviously apparent by giving them certain unique bonuses, then I think that, well, there would be a lot more meaningful decisions than, say, going from troll armor to, like, iron armor, or just, if you're a heavy armor person, just going bronze, iron, silver, padded, carapace. It's like, there's no thought into that. There's no meaningful choice. It's like, oh, this number bigger. Nonsense. I think we could do better. I think heavy armor deserves better. And I think the crafting stations that we have also deserve better, and that they could enable this. Particularly the artisan table and the stone cutter. This thing would be more suited towards maybe the artisan table, but man, those two workstations really should be fleshed out. Hopefully we get a lot more in maybe Ashlands. We get a lot more fleshed out there. Yeah, could be really cool. Let me know what you think about these ideas, these very resistances, these elemental boosts, this sort of thing. There's a lot more that doesn't really apply to Valheim that I could talk about with Final Fantasy IX. But eventually on this channel I'll be doing a playthrough on Final Fantasy IX, and it will be glorious, and I will go into full detail. Until then, thank you for watching, and I'll see you guys some other time. Bye!